All right, great. Yeah, I'm Paul Danehy. I'm the project technologist for SCALPSS, and this is an overview of the SCALPSS payload. I'm going to touch on both the Intuitive Machines IM-1 and also the Firefly Blue Ghost Mission 1 during this presentation. So this chart shows the SCALPSS team. I have a very quick presentation, so I just want to say a couple things. Most of the team is based at Langley. We have some collaborators, including Wes Chambers, who's the PI, down at Marshall, and some other people from across the agency who are participating. We were funded on IM mission by SMD, and we've got funding now from Space Technology Mission Directorate at NASA. So I'm going to start out with some background information, explaining the Plume-Surface interaction problem that we're really trying to solve or understand better, at least with this mission. I'll talk about our approach, which is to use stereophotogrammetry and kind of the science behind that, and then talk about the design of the two payloads, first of all for the Intuitive Machines lander and then for the Firefly Blue Ghost lander. I'll describe the methodology we use and some of the environmental testing we did to prepare our instruments, and then I'll show a brief overview of the results from 1.0. And then Wesley Chambers tomorrow is going to give a talk about our 1.1 mission. It was on Firefly Blue Ghost Mission 1. So the motivation for our work is to better understand this Plume-Surface interaction that happens when landers are coming down onto the surface. The thrusters are interacting with this surface, generating craters and producing particle ejecta. This has been seen in various other landings, including Apollo 15, as shown here. Of course, the ejecta that's produced can obscure the view of the landing site, which could cause navigational problems. Also, it's spraying out this very high velocity dust and regolith rocks that can damage nearby assets. It can actually come back up and hit the vehicle and cause a variety of other dusting of assets that you have that might be solar panels, things like that. So it's a difficult problem to study on Earth because we can't really simulate all those different parameters like gravity and the physical scale of the dust compared to the size of your experiment. So there's a big effort to both model this and also to do ground test simulations. But this current effort is to use the SCALPSS system to measure these craters, and the purpose-built instrument to do so. So stereophotogrammetry, how does this technique work? So if you have your lander, you attach a couple cameras to it. These cameras have to view the same area of the ground in stereo. So you would get two images here. These two images I'm showing here are from a crater model that we built in our lab. It's made out of paper mache with some rocks and dust attached to it. But we can use that with these two images and eventually do simulations for the lab. But in the flight, we're downloading those through a data storage unit and then downlinking to Earth from the lander. And the way the technique works, it's basically the same stereo effect that you get with your eyes. You can judge depth, distance. You get different perspectives on a certain location here, and then through a careful calibration, you can get three-dimensional shape. So we've done that here in the lab data. This is just an example. Comparing our lab measurements to a reference, we can determine the accuracy of how well we can do these sort of measurements. And the answer is it's a couple millimeters accuracy from just a pair of images. So the goal was to determine how much of the regolith was eroded and try to quantify that, and we can get some additional data products as well. So in developing this instrument, we wanted to have a model for the accuracy of how well we could measure the shape. That would tell us how to design it, where to put the cameras. So we did a series of tests. This was actually work done originally at NASA Marshall with our collaborators there. They had a known shaped reference board that they looked at with cameras of different spacings and different distances away, h. And we modeled that data. Of course, the further you are away from the surface, the worse your accuracy is. And when the cameras are separated at a wider angle, you get kind of enhanced stereo, so you get better accuracy. Good accuracy is a low number. You get better accuracy when the cameras are further apart. So we came up with this equation. You can see that by going with at higher distances, you get a worse result. Longer focal length lenses actually gives you a better accuracy, but a smaller field of view, and being a larger distance apart gives you a lower accuracy, which is better accuracy. And this was all with hand processing the data. Once we developed a better algorithm for calculating this data by hand, we now have a better factor of 2. So we can get measurements on the order of about 1 millimeter accuracy with this approach. So for the SCALPSS 1.0 mission with Intuitive Machines with a 4-camera system, it was really focusing on the fully developed crater, and we just had a single type of lens. They were 3.37 millimeter focal length lenses. For the Firefly Blue Ghost, we went with a 6-camera system. The idea there was to have 2 cameras with long focal length lenses, 50 millimeter focal length lenses that would see the ground in stereo, and then had 4 to give us a pre-landing site. And then we had 4 cameras that were looking at the post-landing site with good accuracy. And they both had accuracies, they had both accuracies about 1 to 2 millimeters. Yeah, so 3 different types of lenses were used in that case. So we used this, what we call virtual diagnostics interface, or VIDI, to simulate it. It was like a complete computational simulation of the system, and that way we could do things like simulate the sun tracking around different angles and whether the cameras would be in shadow, or we can also simulate different vibration environments, motional blurring. And also this allowed us to make decisions about how rigid the mounts needed to be, for example, and what the longest exposures that we could have on our cameras and make without experiencing blurring. And then we also used this method for post-processing. I got you.
Yeah. Yep, 3 minutes.
So we also used computational fluid dynamics simulations showing the Plume-Surface interaction to figure out where to place the cameras and so on. And these are the locations of the stereo overlap. Underneath lander, we saw we had about 73% of our area of interest was covered for Blue Ghost, and about 58% for Intuitive Machines. We did, this is the various components to test: the cameras, the mounts, the data storage unit, and the USB hub. And this is for Firefly Blue Ghost. Intuitive Machines had a larger amount. We did electromagnetic testing, vibration testing, and thermal vacuum TVAC testing. And the final results that I have from Intuitive Machines, of course, was an off-nominal landing. During transit, we got some nice thumbnail images from the cameras, and post-landing, unfortunately, the images were largely obscured by dust, and the exposures were somewhat saturated, and we got very minimal data back, but we showed that the bottom line was that the cameras and the electronics survived launch, transit, and landing, and gave us data that we were able to basically show that we could get the measurements. There's been several papers on these, and then the last chart here is just to say that we've completed these 2 missions. We've got 3 more missions that are upcoming with individual landers, slated for later this year with Blue Origin, Firefly Blue Ghost Mission 4, and Intuitive Machines Nova D. And we also have a ground test where we're developing and using this to study, this is funded by Human Landing Systems.